Here we go. Well, much respect to you, and thank you so much for joining us as our industry spotlight. How do you
Awesome.
feel about being framed as an industry guy?
I don't know if it's really appropriate. I don't know. It's weird. Never really thought myself as that, but anyway,
Well, you
thanks for
do
having
employ a lot of musicians. I mean, you deal with a lot of musicians, and I mean, your venue is like a second home to me. I mean, my kids have grown up there, and I think I play there probably at least 3 times a month
me. Yeah,
for one
all the time.
reason or another.
You
But
know, it's you use the term employ, and it's to me, it just never really was the idea of employment is after even all these years is still pretty foreign. I mean, it's really it's more like friends doing stuff for friends to me, but we're just all trying to have a good time.
well, yeah, that's what it does feel like.
Yeah.
Um, that's the way the music industry should be. But what did it? Someone told me the other day they don't call it the music fun; they call it the music business. I would think it was George Harder told me that. So it's like that's a good advice from an old timer.
We've been trying to, as things grow and keeps going, it gets more business like, but I mean, we're still trying to just keep it fun for folks. So,
Well, I
yeah.
mean that's why I'm down there all the time. That's where I spend my own money and hang out as well as work.
Well, we sure appreciate it.
Well, tell for those that don't know, tell us about your history in Kansas City as an architect, as a musician, and also as a venue owner with Shea Charlie's and the Ship.
Well, I came from an architecture background. I moved back to Kansas City after college in 98 and pretty quickly got burned out with that industry and sort of just kind of fell into bartending. Sherry Parr at the Brick gave me my first job, and it was enjoyable for a time. And then, I ended up working at Shea Charlie's. It was sort of my favorite bar to hang out at. And I think that's how a lot of bartenders get started, is just sort of working at places that, that you like to spend time at. And so over the years, meet a lot of people in Midtown community, and at the time in the early 2000s, that's where a lot of artists were hanging out, a lot of musicians and all that. So that's who you spend time with is who you end up friends with. My partner Josh Mobley and I had an opportunity, really early 2000s, to get a hold of all the decorative elements from this original bar called the Ship. We could talk a little bit about that history in a second, but we just started sort of building out a sort of a private clubhouse down here where we could practice our various bands, and just kind of have some fun. Over the years, it just kind of built and built and built, and we started just doing more parties and more music and things like that. And so eventually, in 2015, it kind of blown up into a thing where we decided to. I'm not 15. I'm sorry. 2014, we decided to kind of go legitimate and get a liquor license so that we could make this thing real and open the doors for everybody. So, so it's been real organic down here. It just started out, like I said, as just kind of a private space for us, and it was pretty rough. We didn't have any heat. We didn't have any hot water for years and years, and over the years, we just built it up and, just kind of make it more of a thing. And so 2014, we opened up for real. We started doing live jazz. We had a lot of jazz musician friends. And even we had a tradition for jazz on Thursday nights. And then we started doing more popular party stuff on weekends. And it just got bigger and bigger as the word got out. So then for recent history, COVID shut us down in March 20. I don't even know what year. March 2020. We were closed for 4 months. Really couldn't get any kind of music going really until the vaccine started happening, June, February of 21. And so we had this opportunity during this shutdown time to get this bigger space that I'm sitting in right now, next door to us. This used to be a private event space. It used to do weddings and things like that. And unfortunately, that company went out of business, and so the space was empty. So yeah, we were able to sort of move over here and had the idea of kind of building a bigger stage and making this a bigger venue and really building our focus on local live music. And so we're just finally, it's been a year of construction, and we're finally getting things dialed in and ready. We're ready for when COVID, when this COVID thing finally slows down. So yeah, we're doing. We're doing lots of stuff in here. It's well spaced, big room. So we're doing weekend shows and weeknight shows. We're starting to move all the Tuesday honky tonk over here because that's getting big. So that's kind of where we're at right now.
Well, I've been so impressed with all of the adaptation. I loved the back stage where you turn the smoking area into a stage and out into the alley. Those were some fun memories.
That was a real seat of the pants sort of thing, as we really had to get something going as the weather got better in we started kicking that out in fall of 2020 when everybody was doing outside stuff, and that's like when Lemonade Park came online and we saw what they were doing. Oh, we could maybe try a little of that. We didn't have any kind of budget or any kind of permission, city permission licensing to really go super legit. So we really couldn't advertise that a lot, but it was just a way to keep folks playing music and for us to kind of keep our friends and customers engaged. We basically, for the smoking deck, we just took all the furniture out, took the bar out, and built this temporary stage back there. Just put people back on the deck playing out into the alley. And that was a lot of fun. We carried that through then again to this spring 21 until we could really until kind of everybody sort of got vaccinated and started feeling comfortable getting back inside. And so then we just moved everything back inside, and it was
unbelievable
time to do that now. The outside shows were fun because we couldn't really charge for them. We couldn't really enforce a perimeter, so there really wasn't any way to monetize that thing. So we had a bunch of federal grant money that were specifically to keep the business afloat and to keep staff employed. And so we used a lot of that money to just keep paying musicians to just come out and play and put out a tip bucket and all that. So it was a real seat of the pants and loose and casual, but man, people loved it. We had some good time with it.
The tip bucket at the ship is always full. I don't know why.
Well, they're always full for you, man. Everybody loves you.
Fantastic. Well, tell me about the early days before the ship was licensed. I remember card tables and all kinds of things.
There's a lot of stories. People have a lot of different stories and impressions of the place. We talked to folks who remember the old spot, and they're like, didn't this used to be in the basement, or didn't this used to be upstairs or downstairs? And it's like, no, it was always in this spot. So a little background on the ship itself was originally opened downtown in 1935 at 10th and Locust, kind of right there by City Hall. And it was opened as it didn't have any music influence or any kind of music going on. It was just sort of a theme bar. It's a pretty fancy spot when it opened because it spent a ton of money getting it built out. By the time we all found it, people our age in their 40s and 50s, 60s, this is back in the late 90s when I found it. The whole neighborhood had kind of, sort of deteriorated, and the place had sort of turned into a dive bar and all that. And so eventually the city came in and said they wanted to redevelop the neighborhood, and that's where they put in Isla Davis Park and the new federal courthouse. And so they, bought up all the land and condemned all the buildings and tore them down. Well, our landlord and good friend Adam Jones and his friends were able to get in there and salvage out the interior of this original ship, save everything back for sometime in the future. This is, I think, back in like probably 94, I think was when that was. So anyway, we fast forward to about 2001. Josh and I, my partner, were just kind of hanging out in this warehouse down the West Bottoms at somebody's loft party, and we're poking around in the basement. And we find all this all this stuff sort of piled in the corner, and we're looking around as interesting looking stuff, sort of nautical things. Start poking around and digging through this pile and realize that this is the interior of the ship. And we're like, what in the world's this? I thought that place was gone. So we found, we found Adam, who was his building, and he was holding all the stuff. And we're like, well, Adam, what's your plan for all this? And he's like, well, I was just kind of holding back and waiting for an opportunity to sort of restore the place. And so we said, well, here we are. We're young and dumb and got a lot of energy, and let's work. Let's work. Let's get it together. So it turns out that he had a extra space in a new building that he just bought, and so he gave, rented us the space and gave us the stuff, and we just started building. And so this started about, I'd say 2002 to about 2008, I'd say. We just kind of started working on stuff and putting it back together evenings and weekends as time and money allowed. And then we just ended up with this spot, and we built it back as kind of put it together as close to the original as we could, using old photographs and old drawings and things like that. It was just sort of a labor of love, restoration. It was just sort of a hobby kind of a thing. And so, like I said, about 2008, we got finished with it, and we're like, well, what do we do now? And it's like, well, let's start having some parties. Let's bring some bands down here and let's start having fun with it. So that's kind of what we did. So we, we had a lot of friends with bands, jazz bands and things like that. So we just started doing a weekly Thursday night sort of rent party, basically, where we were, taking donations and tips and things like that to help us offset costs and pay rent. And that kind of built and built and built for a number of years. And kind of by 2013, things were kind of getting a little... the word was out. Originally it was all private stuff. It was just our friends, and then it was friends of friends, and then it was friends of their friends. And there's one night we were in there working, and it's like, here comes a group of folks at some sort of a bachelor party, and we didn't know any of these people. They didn't know any of us, and we didn't have any idea what was going on. We didn't have any insurance. We didn't have a license. It was very weird, and it's like that's when we started talking like, well, if everybody wants to be here, we should probably make it safe and legal for everybody to be here. And so that's why that's when we got the liquor license and finally hung the sign on the wall. So
I don't recall you guys ever getting in trouble all those years.
Well, we didn't do anything on weekends, and I think that was a lot of. I think we kept everything pretty small, and we had a real concern with how it looked to the neighbors and neighborhoods. So, I'd come down. We'd have a Thursday night party, and I'd come down Friday morning and clean up the parking lot and just make sure that, things weren't, too obvious. I think it's, being cautious and subtle, I guess, was good for us. So, yeah. So, we hung the sign out on May 1st, 2014. And, it's just kind of been growing ever since. The Royals World Series run in 14 and then 15 really helped us get the word out. We were really pushing that pretty strong, and we used that to sort of piggyback our live music program, so we had a lot of people coming down poking around for Royal stuff, and then we just kept having bands playing during those playoff and World Series games and things, and just always try to keep a music focus on stuff. And I had no idea what we were going to get into. We had no idea that this was ever going to grow into something like this. So it's been an adventure.
Still growing.
Yeah.
Well, speaking of Adam, I often kind of wonder about this. There seems to be like a common thread in sort of the aesthetic of Kansas City interiors that you see with Adam, John O'Brien. I'm thinking of David Ford with YJ's, Randy Wolf's Firehouse. It looks like the same person lives in all of these spaces, and the ship is definitely one of those. And, I wonder if it's just kind of an organic thing that happens, or if you could describe what it is and how it came to be.
Well, I think a common thread between all of us and all of us that you mentioned here is, first of all, all of us are all old buds for years and years and years, but I think everybody has a same sort of attitude of respect for the past, sort of building a future on the foundation of the past. We've made a lot of steps to reach out to the original owners, family of the ship. The things that I think a lot of the new stuff that's coming into town. There's just so much stuff getting built and so much new things and so many people that don't know or are not totally aware of a history of the city. And I think there's a few of us still trying to carry a torch that, just kind of remember where we came from as we're going forward. So yeah, anytime we make down here, anytime we're making moves, building stuff or constructing things, it's always, there's always an eye towards like what was here before and what sort of thing we're doing that's going to be consistent and respectful of the history of Kansas City. So it's not like a nostalgic copy. We're not trying. I don't know. Well, some of it is, but I mean it's the ship, and we did try to build it back as close as we could, but.
Yeah, but you often have original paintings and artworks, and
yeah, for sure. Yeah, we've got a pile of photos of the old spot that we've actually put up and framed in the new spot. It's pretty meta, I guess. It's weird. You can come in the new space and see photos of the old spot, and I don't know. I feel like for me, like building this thing down here, is that the language that we've discovered from things from the past. Just make it so much easier to make decisions about what to do next. So, yeah.
Well, I love it that I could see the sunken ship paintings of Scott Hobart while I'm listening to him. That's meta.
Oh yeah, Scott's just done a ton of stuff for us down here, and he gets it too. I mean, everybody that's down here, I really feel like that spends a lot of time down here really gets it, and it's just a great community, and it's just really, really fulfilling, satisfying.
Well, speaking of Scott, I mean, we're neighbors, and we cycle a lot together. So we would come down to the ship and look at your progress on a weekly basis. Yeah, and it was just amazing. I'm really so impressed with both you and Josh with your work ethic and how you get there so early in the morning and how much you can get done in a day. It's extraordinary.
Well, it's for us. For me, it's particularly. I don't know. I just work. So it's like the job's never done. So it's like every time I come down here and just look around at something, it's like, oh, we could do this a little better. We have a show going and there's some lighting happening, and it's like, like we could really do something better with lights. So like we've got a new lighting package coming in a couple of weeks, and I don't know. It's always just trying to make the space better, just make the feeling better, better for the customers, better for the staff, better for the musicians. It's always just never, the job's never done. We're just never stop working. So, yeah.
Well, regarding COVID and the vaccines, I remember that you guys were kind of on the vanguard of a lot of the policies with the bars around town, and a lot of people were just kind of copying you, and you received some kudos from the mayor, and of course soon after that the mask mandates were lifted, and you had to reverse a lot of those policies. Tell me what that's been like as someone that has employees and dealing with patrons. I mean, we're still going through it. What's it like?
It's just been a nightmare, but it's just like for us, it's just like everybody else. Nobody knows really what to do, and so it seems like we live in a society where there's an absence of quality leadership. So we've had to kind of make our own way and make our own decisions. For instance. I have to hand it to the staff. When we were able to we had no problem getting everybody vaccinated as quickly as we could. So like we had the entire staff vaccinated in February. Really like one of the first like fully vaccinated staffs in town. I'm super proud of that. Everybody was willing to just drop whatever they were doing and go get the vaccines when we could find them for them. and all that.
Yeah, and you made it a priority for bands too,
And
because I
did
remember
too.
leaning
Yeah,
on all the musicians I worked with, like, hurry up.
we
Yeah.
had a couple of connections that we were able to get some early vaccines, and I thought it was pretty important for the music community to try to get everybody done as quickly as possible. Because I mean, it's like musicians can't really work except when they're around people, and so it's like,
Hmm.
well, this is a high risk sort of thing, even though the government says it's not. So I don't know. We were able to help some. We were able to help some folks out. I'm real proud of that. Um, but yeah, so the summer was awesome. We had a really killer summer. I mean, it was like remember it was hot vac summer. Everybody was out partying. It was like over, and then August came around with the Delta variant there, and I mean, it was just slammed on the brakes. And so the city, Kansas City, the health department put the mask mandate in place. And I mean, I understand why they wanted to do that, but the thing is, the reality of when you're running a music venue, people are standing, they're in close proximity. They say you have to have a mask on unless you're actively eating or drinking. But if you're holding a beer, I mean, you're just kind of working on that. I mean, you're always actively drinking down here. So we just realized that we weren't going to be able to enforce the intention of the mask mandate of masking. So the city had the option of, with the mandate, the option of if everybody in the room was vaccinated, then masks weren't required. So we took a hold of that loophole and just jumped on that. And it's like, well, we're just gonna do that. The reality is that we can't enforce the mask. Reality is people aren't going to wear them. So let's just do this instead. So we jumped out in front of that with the vaccination required, I think August 1st or August 3rd or something like that. And we went ahead and made a public post on that. And that was double-edged sword because we really took a hard hit with that. The anti-vax people really came out in force and let us have it. But
those were some epic threads. I remember Rich Wheeler and I just reading those daily.
That was like 2 weeks of me just like constantly on the social media sites, like deleting comments and blocking people and stuff. It was a mess.
Holy cow.
Well, yeah, and then August, we took a hit business wise and all that stuff, but I think everybody did, and it was bad.
Yeah.
But for us, our staff was happy with that, and I feel like our good customers were super happy with that, and so we were happy to do it and proud to do it, and I'm glad it's kind of over. I mean, for now, it's just. Again, like I said, we just made decisions to do the things. We didn't really know what the right thing to do was, and I think our first focus was just protecting our staff and protecting musicians, people down here, and our customers. And so we figured if we were going to lose some people because of the vaccination policy, those were probably the right people to lose in the first place. So, yeah.
Well, speaking of social media, one of my favorite things, you used to do this, you don't do this anymore, was the post that usually started with "Oh brother."
Oh boy.
But I really do believe musicians need to hear from venue owners, like how to write an email to an owner, how to get a gig, and what are some of the things that really get under your skin? What are some of the things that you like? Because you tend to work with the same artists over and over. I mean, you're always taking chances, and there's all kinds of new stuff going on, but you really tend to build some relationships. But I mean, if you could use this as an opportunity to talk with artists that may want to approach the ship, what would you tell them?
Well, first of all, I feel like you're trying to get a hot take out of me, and I'm going to not give you one. But
that's fine. We could edit it out.
Those brother posts for years ago. I've done a lot of. I've tried to do some maturing since then, so we won't get into that. So as we talk about the history of this place, it's a very community-focused sort of thing, and so our original musicians that were here were old friends and people that Josh and I and the rest of the staff have spent a lot of time with. It's people that we're comfortable with. We know no surprises, that sort of thing. And so, I mean, we're loyal to our friends. So, when you have to book shows 3 or 4 nights a week over and over again, it's just so much easier to just kind of call like the same people and repeat stuff. And it's not about a repetition or the same sort of thing. It's more about a consistency of experience. So we
Mm-hmm.
know that when every time Brad Buckner comes in with Casey Green to play Grant Green inspired soul jazz, we know that that's going to be a good sound in this room, and that the customers are going to like it. They might not be aware of the band, they might not be aware of the musicians, but they do know that it's a super cool vibe and it's a good sound. And at the end of the night, they're like, "Oh, who was that even playing? We don't even know, but we know that we'll just come back because the place is great." And so then, like the following week, we'll have Chris Hazelden's Boogaloo 7, and it's kind of the same sort of deal where it's just when we're booking music, we're booking for a feel or an experience that's not just a concert. And granted, I'm saying that's at this point in time, because with this new room, we're actually starting to do more concert type experiences, where we actually are, like closing the room off, selling tickets for this venue, more in the style of, say, like a Riot Room or a Record Bar or anything like that. But up until this point, essentially, our bookings are mostly about providing a vibe or an experience that involves that the music is just a part of. So for musicians that are looking to play down here, I think the first thing we need to have is, first of all, maybe some type of a recording, or like not a demo or whatever, links to recordings, things like that. And then really the best way is to just start spending some time down here and sort of getting to know the staff and meeting people and just becoming part of the community and the staff and the customers and all that sort of thing. Probably the best example of that this year has been Ryan Kadesh Flow. Ryan's down here all the time, and so he's he's a super cool dude, and he's got a bunch of different music projects and varied stuff. And so, we kind of bring him for Desh Tet, which is more of a jazz oriented thing, and a little bit of that. And the people have a good time with it, and then staff loves him, and so anytime he calls up now and wants to try something else, we've been trying to get some out of town rap artists that he works with down here. We haven't done any of that yet, but it's just one of those things where you kind of get your foot in the door, and then just start becoming part of the community, and then we can start making time and things like that. But in the meantime, like I said, I've got 3 or 4 nights a week that I have to fill up, so we're just going to keep calling, keep talking to everybody that we've been talking to. And like, for instance, Beau, like you with all of your various projects, it's like, anytime you want to do anything, you got something new going on, it's like, come bring it. We've got nights for you. I mean, so, yeah, we're always looking
I
for
feel
new
that.
things.
Yeah, and you never say no. Like any kind of idea that I have it's usually you're very receptive to it, and it usually goes very well.
Yeah, and I think what's important here is the bond of trust between the artists and the venues. And so it's hard to get the first look, but once you get going, then it's once you can kind of show that you get it, and you maybe can help us out with our business, then we can help you out with your business. So,
yeah, it does feel mutual because you do a lot of the advertising yourself. A lot of venue owners are kind of famous these days for sort of not doing anything, and you're on it.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we've always come at this thing as we've always looked at ourselves as sort of maybe like coming from behind, or like a small fish in the pond sort of thing. I mean, we've always had a lot of respect for the venues, bigger venues. I mean, Steve over at Record Bar, doing what they're doing has been an inspiration and all that for us. And so we've always been kind of like these little guys doing this thing down in the bottoms. And so whenever we have something going on, we feel like we really have to work a little harder to sell it. A lot of people don't really know where we're at, or never been here. It's crazy to me how even after all these years, most of the people come in the door, it's their first time. And it's like, well, how many people are there first time? So anyway, yeah,
Wow.
we're always hustling.
Hmm.
We're always hustling the shows, and part of that is that we do take an active role in marketing all our stuff and trying to make trying to get word out for bands. We totally understand that a lot of musicians don't have a lot of reach yet, social media wise, and so I feel like if we're gonna go to the trouble of having you in here and providing a venue for you, then we're also going to go to the trouble of trying to get as many people down here to hear your music as we can. So yeah, we work pretty hard on that. That's the way it's always been.
So you're going to bring the trumpet back someday when you
Dude,
close down the place?
nobody wants that.
I liked it. It was kind of hanging over the bar at Chez Charlie's.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. There's nothing gets everybody out of here at last call like me trying to play trumpet at everybody. But
Ah, good
yeah,
memories.
that was kind of my history, was just dabbling in some horn playing and all that. But yeah, this it's merciful for everybody that I have retired from that. So
So do you think your stint as a musician and the formidable Hearts of Darkness, does that help you kind of empathize with musicians as well?
yeah, for sure, that was a great experience for me. It was we had that band going from that was another one of these things where Josh sort of had this idea to start an Afrobeat band. I don't know, 2006. We got a bunch of friends together, none of whom were really, well, not none, but most of the people in that band were not experienced musicians, and we just sat around in his living room for a year, sort of trying to figure out how to play our instruments and play, Fela Kuti style Afrobeat. And that was one of these things where we just, it sort of grew from nothing into kind of a fun party band that we were doing pretty good in some local venues for a number of years. But yeah, for me it was kind of running that band, and I was doing all the bookings and all the production stuff, and like working with audio staff on audio things, and also doing a lot of marketing. And so yeah, that was a really good experience. So I kind of, for to bring here as a venue owner, because I kind of know what bands and musicians are kind of going through. And so yeah, we've tried to make things on a production side as good as we can. We really have an emphasis on quality sound and quality monitoring, and we keep, we have, like, for instance, like microphones. We just have a million great mics, and all the cables
Yeah.
work. Bands show up to venue. I remember playing in bands. You'd show up, and the sound guy'd be drunk, and nothing would work right, and and we just don't do that. I don't want musicians to have to deal with that. So yeah, that, yeah, the Hearts of Darkness days were good lesson for me on how as a musician what sort of venue I would like to play in, and that's what we try to provide down here for everybody.
So you guys are renovating Chez Charlie's too right now, right?
Oh yeah, that's my other bar. I'm just a minority partner in that. It's that's Mark Inman's bar.
Hmm.
He's the boss over there, and so yeah, we bought that in 2019, March 2019, and have spent the last couple of years very slowly trying to fix it up a little bit. I mean, that's for people that don't know. That's Chez Charlie's is at 38th and Broadway, kind of just north of Westport, and that's been it was sort of it's always been a dive bar, opened in 1968. It was just a liquor bar, no music, no food. Excuse me. I mean, a really excellent jukebox. That was Milton Morris's. Most of the records in that jukebox came from Milton's, and that was Milton Morris's collection in that jukebox. But yeah, anyway, we took over that place in 2019 and have been sort of trying to get it back to its original glory. Just kind of fixing up stuff and making it just a little less, a little less dumpy, and a little more loungy. So nothing's really changing too much there. We just put some new carpet in.
So
Yeah,
has the ship's jukebox, was that just kind of carrying over the Chez Charlie's vibe to that?
that's exactly right. Yeah. So Josh is really into the record collecting, and that, Josh and I spent I've spent lots and lots of time at Charlie's. And so, like I said, he's a record collector. And so when we had an opportunity to get a jukebox down here, he took that over and found this vintage Seaberg, I think, and has it full of his record collection, and changes it up on a weekly basis. And it's it's just a way to show off some more music and some things like that. So both Charlie's and the Ship, the jukeboxes are free, and they're pretty interesting stuff that it's old 45, so I mean there's really no new music in there, so it's all just kind of old vintage stuff that's super cool.
Wow, yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, Bobby, thank you so much for doing this, and it's been real interesting for me. I thought maybe we'd end this today. A couple of days ago, I reposted a nostalgic video of Mireya Ramos, who's a Latin Grammy-winning ranchera artist who had was playing at the Ship for her birthday. This was late December 2019, and you posted that was one of your top 10 musical moments.
Yeah,
tell me about that.
Everybody that's in there that night, that was a magical night. Really, just incredible. And it's nice like that down here, where it's like when that happens, it just makes all the work and all the pain and struggle through COVID and everything, just seeing all that and the things that we've been able to do here is just unbelievable. So, yeah.
Well, awesome. Well, this is her singing a ranchera classic called Te Parto el Alma, or I'll Cut Your Soul. And I remember being really excited, thinking like, oh, I have melded ranchera and country music.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Slim's like, sounds like Freddie Fender to me. It's like, of course, someone has done this very obvious thing. And, but, takes Slim to tell you the truth, I guess.
We'd love to have her back down here anytime, man. Anytime you want to bring her back, let's do it.
Oh, we're already talking about it. So
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Well, here, let's watch a little bit of this.
Please.
I think this totally captures the pre-pandemic vibe and just the vibe in general of the Ship. This is the smaller stage on the other side.
Right side.
This is a ranchera meets country. Thank you. This is called Te Parto el Alma, which literally means I will cut your soul. See, cut it. You need to cut it. ¿Te acuerdas cuando éramos felices? Que nada en este mundo nos podía separar. ¿Te acuerdas que cada beso nuestro al cielo iba a parar? Ay, más tarde no sé por qué te fuiste, feliz vas pasando por el mundo. Ya no me quiero acordar. Si es el rezo que es de Dios y me amargo. Lograste parto el
La reina. Ramos, ladies and gentlemen. Mr. Beau Bledsoe.
That's something.
Good
Jeez.
times. Hey, you should be proud of creating an environment where that can happen.
Ah, man, it's like everybody'd rather see a lot more of that and a lot less of me. That's kind of the point. But I just wanted to, thanks for having me on, man. It's like, shit, it's really, just seeing that, it's just like, yeah, this makes it all worth it. So,
Oh yeah.
let's
Good
have a lot more of
memories.
that. You know,
It's
feel
coming.
like down here. I mean, we've been here for a long time, and we made it through this rough patch, and we're going to be here for a lot longer. So, we're going to be here forever. So, come on,
I believe that.
down. Come on down, man. We're here for that.
Well, maybe I'll see you tonight. Anyway.
All right, cool. Yeah.
Well, thanks a lot. I really, really appreciate it, Bobby.